Today we shall be looking at the continuation of our topic, electricity and magnetism. We try as much as we can yesterday to deal with electricity very comprehensively. So we were unable to get to magnetism. So let's start exactly from where we stopped. Magnetism. So I told you both of them are good friends. Why? Because movement of electricity will give birth to magnetic field. And when there is a change in the magnetic field, then electricity will be born. So and that's why both of them must be discussed together. So we have been able to look at electricity yesterday. So let's go into magnetism. These are the things we want to look at under magnetism. We shall be looking at magnetic field. We shall be looking at magnet itself. We shall be looking at classification of magnetic material. We shall be looking at factors that determines the magnetic field strength. We shall be looking at magnetic property of iron and steel. Both of them are under ferromagnetic property, but we shall be looking at their properties. We shall be looking at force in the magnetic field. We shall be looking at method of magnetization and demagnetization. So let's go into the first one of them, magnetic field. Magnetic field. We defined field yesterday as a region. We defined a field yesterday as a region under the influence of some physical agency. And I proposed or I mentioned three major fields yesterday, which I said we can add one more, which is electromagnetic field. So field is a place in English language, but we don't use place in science. We use a region, or we use what? Space. Why do we use region or space? Because I told you the reason is that a field is where you get to and you cannot control yourself. You cannot dictate what happens. Something in that place will control you and dictate for you. That's the reason why in science we don't use place. When you go to a place, you can control that place. But when you get to a field, you cannot. Because there is an agent in that field that will always control and dictate for you. So yesterday we looked at that electric field, where we have electric force as a major controller. So today we are going to be looking at magnetic field, where we must have a magnetic force as the major determinant or major controller. So how do we define it? We are going to define it with respect to how we define a field. So magnetic field is a region or space where magnetic force can be what? Felt. Magnetic field is a region around the magnet where a magnetic force can be what? Felt. Let's assume this is a magnet. Now, and this is a magnetic material like a pin. Begin to push towards the what? Magnet. You eventually push this pin to a place or a region around the magnet where that magnet will withdraw by force that pin from you. So a region where the pin get to and the magnet withdraw the pin from you, that region is known as magnetic what? Field. Because the pin is now in the field of that magnet. And what control in that field is a magnetic force. Because I told you every field must have a controller, a determinant. So every point of this region is controlled by a magnetic force. Definitely, when any magnetic material gets to any point around this magnet, that magnetic material will be affected by the magnetic force, or that magnetic material will feel the impact of what? Magnetic what? Force. So once again, a magnetic field, this is a magnet, and this region is the field of that magnet, because this is the region where any magnetic material get to and they begin to feel the force of magnet or the magnetic force. So that's how we take the definition for a magnetic field. A region around the magnet where magnetic force can be what? Felt. Then that word magnet, this object called magnet, how do we define it? We need to know this object called magnet that is attracting so many magnetic material towards itself. So how can we define it? So we can define a magnet as a device or as an object that attracts a magnetic material. So underline magnetic material. Magnetic material. I will repeat that definition once again. A magnet is an object that attracts a magnetic what? Material. Which means a magnet does not attract every object. It has power to attract only the magnetic material. So what are magnetic material? That is what we need to look at now. So what are the material that can be magnetized by a magnet? Even some of the material we think a magnet will magnetize. Magnet will refuse to magnetize it. So we now begin to wonder, why is magnet not magnetizing this material? Any material that is not being magnetized by a magnet, it means that material is not a what? Magnetic material. So there is some specific material that can be magnetized by a magnet, and they are called what? Magnetic material. And there are classification for magnetic material. There are three major classifications of what? Magnetic material. This classification is based on how the magnetic material respond when they get to magnetic field. This is the magnet I'm treating, and this is the field of the magnetic of this what? Magnet. So I have three classifications of magnetic material. One of them is called diamagnetic material, another one is called paramagnetic material, and the third one is called ferromagnetic material. And I said the classification of these is determined by how each of them respond when they are brought to the what? Magnetic field. Some of them, when they are brought, some of those materials I've just mentioned, I am going to expatiate them very well. But there are three classifications. And I said the reason for the three classification is how they respond. How they what? Respond when they are in what? Magnetic what? Field. Some of them will be repelled some of them will be repelled by the magnetic field, meaning when they come to magnetic field, they will be repelled. Those ones are called diamagnetic material. Some of them will be attracted very weakly. Some of them will be attracted very weakly. Some of those magnetic material will be attracted by the magnetic field very weakly, meaning in a very weakly way. Those ones are called paramagnetic material. And some of them will be attracted, some of them, meaning some magnetic materials, will be attracted to the magnetic field in a very strong manner. Those ones are called ferromagnetic material. So let's discuss them. The first one is called diamagnetic material. I'm talking about magnetic material now. So the first one is called diamagnetic material. That's the name of the first one. The second one is called paramagnetic material. Paramagnetic material. That's the name of the second one. While the third one is called ferromagnetic material. Ferromagnetic what? Material. And I said the three classification based on how they respond. How they respond when they are brought to the magnetic what? Field. So the continuation, let's wait for the continuation of the explanation in the next video.